Drum roll, please. The Righteous Kitchen.
Looking for the perfect dinner roll for your Thanksgiving? Try these Lion House dinner rolls. They're absolutely delicious. Today I am going to demonstrate how I make my Lion House dinner rolls. I will be mixing the dough in my Joji Rushi bread maker. So to get started, I have all of my ingredients laid out in the order they will be going into the bread machine. But I do want to take a moment. I think it's very important to make sure that your flour is measured correctly. Since I store mine in a plastic container, it settles down and gets really heavy. So whenever I go to measure, I just take it in a large bowl and aerate it. You know, just stir it up with a spoon, or you could use a whisk. Just get some air into that and then measure. I just measure old school like I was taught in home ec class. It hasn't failed me yet, and I do a lot of baking. So until it does fail, I'm just going to stick with the method that I know. All right, level it off with the back of your knife, and that's a correctly measured 1 cup of flour. All right, so I have all of my flour prepped. Now, I did say that I am using the bread machine. You wouldn't bake a loaf of bread with 5 pounds of flour in your bread machine. So I'm only using it to mix up the dough. And this is a 2-pound loaf pan. So if you have a 1 pound, you're gonna have to have this recipe. All right, here we go. Into the bread pan, in this order, is our water, slightly warm. You could microwave it just a second just to get that chill off of it, or run it till your tap water is warm. Egg, flour, I'll take and level this a little bit. It is quite full already. Salt, dry milk, sugar, yeast. I'll stop right there and show you the yeast that I'm using. Instant dry yeast. I pick up these large packages of yeast at Sam's Club or Costco. They're a little more economical that way. The last thing is butter. This is the Joji Rushi bread machine. I've got everything into the bread pan. Make sure that it's in there very well. Now on mine, I have it in memory just to knead the dough. I am going to select the course. Okay, there it is. See where it says 25 minutes? I have it in memory. That's just gonna knead it and it'll be done. So I have that stored. Just start it and let it do its thing. As this bread machine is mixing up the dough, if you notice some areas aren't getting mixed up, just take a rubber spatula and just kind of press it into the dough. Just be careful. Okay, my dough is ready. And I'm going to turn it into a greased bowl. So I'm just taking vegetable oil and lightly coating the bottom and the sides. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just give it a quick coating all around your bowl. And just turn your dough into the bowl. Did you notice how this dough is really sticky? It's kind of hard to work with when it's so sticky. You end up adding a lot of flour into it. So instead, I like to refrigerate my dough for at least 3 hours. I prefer to refrigerate it overnight. The refrigeration will take it from being sticky to just a tacky, where it's gonna be soft, it's gonna be able to work easier, and you're not gonna have as much problem with sticking. It's just gonna be a nice, easy, soft dough to work with, but it's not gonna be sticking all over the place. So that's why I refrigerate it. So depending on my mood, I might roll these out tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm getting ready to bring the dough out of the refrigerator. It has been proofing in there for the last 3 hours. Before I do that, I want to get my baking pan ready. And I am using a 9 by 13 inch pan. And I'm going to put some parchment in the bottom. So I'm gonna lightly brush oil on it, just cooking oil. I just want the parchment to adhere to that. And then I have it folded up the side. So the oil is going to be like the glue. You don't really have to put parchment on the sides, but the piece of parchment I had was long, so I didn't want to waste it. So I'm going to put it up the sides. You don't have to do both sides. The other side, I can just take some oil, put it on the sides. You can also use butter if you prefer to use butter. You want to have a clean bench to work on. And some flour. I'm going to keep my bowl of flour off to the side. And let me go get that dough. So 3 hours, it's doubled in size. You could keep it in there overnight if you wanted to. But I thought I would just go ahead and get this out of the way. Punch it down a little bit. I'm going to put a little flour so when it dumps out, it doesn't stick to everything. Now, when that dough was first mixed, it was sticky. Now it's tacky. It's like, remember that silly putty that you played with as a kid? It's tacky. It doesn't stick to your fingers. That's why I like to proof it in the refrigerator. Okay, I'm gonna use a bench scraper just to keep things moving on my board. I don't want a big mess. This dough has a really soft consistency. I'm going to keep it floured. While I'm rolling it out, I'm going to make sure that there is flour on the bottom. And I want to keep it about 1/3 of an inch. The measurement I want to look for is, I'm going to use my hand. So I'm going to go from the top of my finger to the base of my thumb there. That's about 5 inches. So I want the height on this to be about 10 inches. So I'm going to leave a little bit of room to trim. And then I'm going to go this way for my rectangle. So I'm going to push everything out this way. Now, I put the shaggy side of the dough up. On the bottom, everything's relatively smooth. We are at over 1/4 of an inch. All right. Okay, so I want to trim up the edges. You don't have to do this. You can go a free-form cut it right across horizontally in half, and then you could cut each strip 2.5 inches. You can do that free-form, but I'm trying to go for a uniform size roll. And that's just my preference. I'm gonna take a little bit extra time with this. I'm gonna use a pizza cutter and come in here and just straighten up the edge. All the way around. So let's measure the finished side real quick. I'm going to push the corners in. Get a good looking rectangle here. So we've got an 11 by 19 inch rectangle. All right, now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and cut my middle line here. So I'm marking it on a couple of places. Now I'm going to cut across every 2.5 inches. To get a uniform roll, I'm going to keep it on the work surface and roll it up like you would a sleeping bag. All right, bring it up. Where it ends, that's called the tail. Place that down on your baking tray. So that's just gonna go right in your baking tray. And you want to leave a finger around. All right, so that's just sitting there. Let me show you that again. That's just sitting there with this sitting directly on the tray. All right, so we'll do it another time. So we're not picking it up, we're just rolling it. I have all of the rolls in the pan. I'm going to move it to the side and cover it with a clean towel. I've got a couple more over here to roll out. Now, you don't have to do these as big as what I'm doing, but I wanted them on the bigger size. Okay, there's 2 more. Now I'm going to take my scraps, and I was playing around with the video, watching videos of this being demonstrated, and there's a flip method that you can do. You just do this and you could flip them, right? But I don't flip rolls all day, so my flip doesn't come out perfect, but it's something that you can do. You just get it, stretch it out a little bit, and then flip it. That being said, I'm not a professional flipper, and I like a little more consistency. So for me, I'm just doing what works, and that would be to roll it right on the counter. Now with the extra dough, you could roll it out again. We'll roll it out into a rectangle. Let's see if I could give it the old flip. There we go. That's not bad. All right, flip it, tail down. Have a little left over, so what I'll do with this, don't want to waste anything. I'm going to oil my hands for this roll. Okay. There we go. All right, a little more oil on my hand, just a drop or 2. All right, let's do a little braid. Press it and braid. That is a little braid. You can give it a stretch. All right. That's just with the leftover piece of dough. I'll get a cloth for this and I will let it rise with the other tray. What's nice about the bench scraper is you can clean up your counter and it'll get all of that sticky bits of dough pulled up from the counter. All right, throw it in the trash. I came back to talk about proofing real quick. If your house is warm, just cover with a tea towel and keep it on the counter. If not, you can slow rise them in the refrigerator for a few hours. Or what I'm going to do today is set these in the oven with the oven light on. Just the oven light on. And then I'll check these probably about an hour and see if they filled out the pan. Okay, my rolls were proofing in the oven for an hour and a half. That was just, they were covered with a towel, the oven light on, and look how beautiful they have proofed. I want to explain why I took the time to cut them, measure, and roll on the counter. On this tray, you can see where the sides have kind of spilled over compared to this one. Now I know that this is in a pan, and you want to kind of bake these in a cake pan because you've got the sides to keep everything in place. It's kind of like having a girdle on. So that's going to give your rolls more structure. It's going to make them look even. I mean, these look great to me. If you bake on a tray, they're going to spread. But with that flipping technique, you can see I'm not an experienced flipper. I don't do that every day. Those don't have as much control. Even the one next to it, I can tell that I cut these and I flipped this one. So for me, it's just easier. I can measure them. I could roll them right from the counter, and I'm gonna have a better look. It's time to brush these with butter. And my oven is preheating to 375 degrees. Okay, these are ready to go into the oven. Okay, these baked for 28 minutes. What I'm going to do is brush them again with butter. Then I'm going to sprinkle with a little bit of flaked sea salt. Don't these look beautiful? Okay, let's get ready to taste one. They're so light. That looks really good. Oh, wow. They're so soft and light and airy. They're really good. I tell you, is there anything better than freshly baked bread? I don't think so. Okay. I'm going to release these now that they've cooled, because I want you to see how tall they are. Look at these, aren't they beautiful? Let me cut one off of here. Look at that. That's a beautiful roll. Look Look at these. Look at these rolls. I wanted to show you those because on Thanksgiving it'll be too busy for me to worry about showing you these dinner rolls. So I'm going to put them back into the pan. I got a new sheet of parchment. They're nice and protected in the pan. I'm going to freeze these, but I freeze them in the pan because I could put them right back in the oven the day of Thanksgiving. The pan is going to protect these in the freezer so that nobody smashes them. But the trick is you have to use a lot of plastic wrap to make sure that no air can get to the rolls. I cover in foil. I'm going to go that way. Place this upside down and bring this to the back and around the top again. I might go around one more time. Now these rolls should be perfectly safe. All I have to do is heat them up in the oven the day of Thanksgiving.
Thanks for watching The Righteous Kitchen. Make sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.